Hello, my Full Moon friends. Welcome, Chandra's and Odyssey. Under pressure, I want to talk about stress regulation and sitting on the edge of the unknown.
Welcome! Here is your hostess and coach, Chandra Zas, helping people make food and mood changes doable without missing out. Go ahead, high five that like button, subscribe and share while you're there.
I'm going to get a little bit personal here. It's actually one of my goals in these podcasts is to get a little bit more personal and share a little bit more what's going on in my life as is relevant to you guys. And I have a big new piece coming that will share a lot more about what has been going on in my life the last couple of years. And the sneak peek is this video today talking about stress regulation and really sitting on the edge of the unknown. Because my life has been a lot of sitting on the edge of the unknown. My partner and I both really value freedom over security. And so we've made a lot of life choices that have put us on the edge of the unknown, from moving to different countries regularly and not knowing where we're going to find food that we like, or even find organic food, or which doctor we're going to see, or how we're going to find kid care or housing, or we have been our life has been set up for really sitting in the unknown. And we're in a pinnacle moment. We have some big life changes happening behind the scenes, and we have a lot of instability. We don't know where we're going to live next month. We don't know where our little one is going to be in school, or if she's going to be in school. We don't know. There's a couple other big ones, but I'm going to keep those I'm going to keep them private. But just to give a little bit of an insight of that it's something that's a big part of our life. And so my partner and I, we have developed a lot of skills and experience around sitting in that unknown. Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm in the Dead Sea, floating in the water. Go ahead and like and share and follow so we can keep in touch. And we went on a beautiful hike yesterday because there's a lot of emotion that comes up with sitting on the edge of the unknown. Like anybody, all of our brains, we love our survival primal brain loves familiarity. All of our human brains thrive on routine, although some of us prefer more freedom than routine. But even in a place of really wanting and valuing freedom, some level of routine is still important for productivity, for regulation. This has become extremely clear to us about how important it is for our little one and even for ourselves. So as we've been sitting on another edge of the unknown, I keep having this picture in my head of us sitting on the cliff's edge with our feet dangling and just kind of sitting in this wow, okay, we don't know how this is going to work out. We don't know what it's going to look like, and where we had this really beautiful talk yesterday talking about how we can only really know the next step and the next day and the next decision, and the brain management that it requires to stay focused on what it is that we can control and not let our brain, because the normal default thing is for all of our brains to go into worry and overwhelm and catastrophizing and really going to worst case scenarios. And so the practice of staying present and staying really real with what is and focusing on what we do know and believing in our ability to figure it out, to figure out the next step and the next step and the next step. And we went on this hike I already told you about. And I just had this immense gratitude come up for who my partner is, and that even though we have chosen a pretty unstable and living on the edge of the unknown life, I am also really appreciative of what it's created between us, the teamwork that we have come to, the way we work together, the way we solve problems, the way we have navigated through some really tumultuous times, particularly since COVID came up. COVID made our life a lot more challenging. I think like everybody, COVID, made everyone's life a lot harder, but our traveling, unstable life, COVID made our life, like really shifted our life, and the intensity of the unknown and the intensity of the instability. So we have been managing a lot of stress, and my partner is actually extremely good at managing stress. One of my really good friends who I love talking with, he was telling me about how the alpha is the animal. He was actually talking about animals, that the animal who has the ability to be under stress and stay regulated. And so I think about that concept a lot of like, what is it like to be in a state of stress and maintain regulation? And my partner's really good at it. He actually, partly because he's very, very trained to do so. He was in a special units in the military and was a rescue person and was under a high amount of stress. And, he trained himself, and he was trained to be extremely regulated under a high amount of stress. So for him, our unstable life is not as big of a deal as it is for me, because I come from soft California, where a lot of things are all pretty like mellow, and survival is really different than where his life and the reality of Israel. I've lived there enough time to know that it's a different reality depending on where you're living in the world. So stress is all relative, and like not having a home, not knowing things, sitting on the edge of the known has a certain amount of stress. So I want to share with you guys a little bit about how I have been really regulating my stress. A lot of it is brain management, of like really noticing which emotions are useful and which ones are just going to, I like to call them in my coaching, indulgent, which ones just spin us out and get us stuck. So like the useful emotions would be the fear that is connected to what can I do to prevent things. So like the useful part of fear. There's the indulgent part of fear that's more like worry and overwhelm and catastrophizing, that it's not so useful to hang out there. It's important to like acknowledge them and include the whole experience, but not useful to hang out there. And stress is useful in a survival state, but it's not useful in a daily state. It makes inflammation in our body, and it lowers our brain function. And so managing my mind, managing your mind, is one of the most important things that we can do for sitting on the edge of the unknown and regulating stress. Looking at which thoughts are useful, which ones are going to help in the situation, what can I control, what is our next move, what is in my power, what's not in my power, what's not worthy of worrying about or focusing on. So this is like the brain management piece of it. And the other really important piece that I think, they're both really important, but the emotional processing, the spending time on the earth, touching the ground with our bare feet and our body, is incredible for regulating our nervous system. Walking, breathing, feeling, allowing ourselves to process everything is extremely important in regulating our stress. So doing both of these pieces are crucial to growing our capacity to sit on the edge of the unknown and to keep showing up regulated, even when there are stressors in life that feel like we have to be stressed. We don't have to be stressed. We can look at life and acknowledge the events and choose to manage our mind and process our emotions in a way that helps us show up like an alpha, like a boss, regulated, stable, amongst the chaos, amongst the life stressors, amongst a rescue mission in a war, amongst not knowing where we're going to live next month. So it's all the same thing. It's all about like health, mental health, emotional health. And of course, for me, there's a no-brainer, but I know that not everybody's in this place, but for me, food is the no-brainer. It's just the rock solid foundation of our physical health, of our stress in our body, of our inflammation, of our brain power, of our brain function is food. Food is the most important thing to everything. So for me, I don't go to emotional eating. It's just not what I do. Like I don't go towards hydrogenated oils and sugars, processed sugars and flours. Like, it's just not where I go, because I know it lowers my vibration, it lowers my brain function, it makes me feel sad, it makes me feel off. It doesn't help. So for me, even when I'm stressed, I'm always eating like super good food that is fueling my body. And then so for me, I mean, for every human, I really believe that this is like the core foundational piece. Next is brain management, next is emotional management. Although I have to say, there's not really, it's a circle. They're all connected. So they're all extremely important. But that's the way to really ensure that our bodies are machines, like really capable, useful, healthy machines. That is the house for our brain, is the connection to how we are able to show up in our life. Yeah. So to be like, and I see in a lot, pretty much everywhere I look right now, that like life's hard for a lot of people. It's stressful times, like the pandemic and now the recession, and it's a hard moment for a lot of people. It's a lot of fear, a lot of unknown, a lot of like clamp down, it's not an easy time. And there is a way to move through this time in a regulated and healthy way that has to do with feeding our body nourishing food, managing our mind, processing our emotions. And when we do those things, we can then choose how we show up for these stressful situations, for these hard moments, for these hard times. They're real for a lot of people, and we can show up in a way where we're self-sabotaging and we're eating comfort foods and we're checking out and we're avoiding and we're distracting ourselves from the stressors, or we can show up in our life in a way that we're facing them and embracing them and growing our capacity and choosing to regulate ourselves, choosing to be a being who is holding space for others, helping other people regulate. It's one of the big jobs that I see as for my little one. She is going through an immense amount of change, and she needs me to help her regulate. Kids can't regulate themselves. They need our nervous system. They need our grounding. They need our energy. They need our nervous system. They need good food in their body to be able to get through it the best that they can. And so I see one of my main jobs right now is actually helping my little one regulate through all this. And as I'm helping her regulate, then I'm regulating myself. And so it's a beautiful cycle of self-care and regulation and health. And, I think about how we all have choices all the time. We have choices of going away and like letting our life get smaller, or we have a choice of going towards and embracing and opening and allowing our life to get bigger intentionally, on purpose, consciously. And yeah, I choose the latter. This is my passion. This is my work in the world. This is every cell of my being, what I'm committed to and what I want to do and what I help other people do. It's I feel extremely blessed and grateful for my work in the world. It's amazing. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some ideas on things you can do, simple daily things that you can do. Breathe, walk, feel, eat clean food, watch your brain. Don't believe everything it says. And, our brains, it's one of the biggest tragedies is that we believe that what the things in our brain are the truth, and they're just thoughts, they're just sentences often put there by other people. And when we start watching our brain as a computer that has code in it, that says things, that has beliefs, that has thoughts, when we stop believing it and when we start actually intentionally thinking thoughts that are useful, like food matters, like eating good food really matters, or I deserve it, it doesn't really matter, tomorrow, next time. Those are the kind of thoughts that sabotage our food habits, and those are the thoughts that we can question to change our relationship with food. Yeah. All right. I hope you have a beautiful week. And if you're feeling stressed, I hope you use these tools. And if you're sitting on the edge of the unknown, take a deep breath and maybe rewatch this video. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.